And with us for the next 30 minutes, I'm joined by the UKIP MEP, William Dartmouth. And
good morning.
Good morning, or afternoon. Liberal Democrat, actually this goes out all over the world. It could be any time of day when people see this, and the Liberal Democrat MEP, Catherine Bearder. Now, let's take a look at one of those stories. This TTIP vote, this attempt to get a trade deal between the European Union and the United States. It's hitting a lot of problems, isn't it?
Yes, there's a lot of misunderstanding about what we were voting on and where the negotiations are. So the Parliament yesterday was giving its mandate to say to the Commissioner, carry on, and these are the lines that we want you to negotiate on.
Is Parliament overall in favour of this deal?
Generally, yes. I mean, we're all in favour of trade, and trade is already happening with the States. What we want to do is make it easier for our companies and small businesses to trade easier with the States, take down the trade barriers, the tariffs, that sort of thing.
You're part of the resistance, aren't you?
We're part of the resistance. In fact, Catherine missed out part of it. 245 MEPs voted against it, which in the world of the European Parliament, which is a bit like the sort of Cortes in Franco's Spain, is a very, very, very large number indeed.
How many MEPs are there?
I didn't get 751,
okay,
I think.
So
it's not about a third, coming up to a third, which is actually a very big number. Now, we don't like it because the ISDS clause has a tendency to undermine national courts. And, well, there was a socialist compromise, which you voted for, which everybody else voted against.
But
and
the
secondly,
has said
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, no, most people don't.
What were you saying there? You used initials.
An acronym, sorry.
Well, that's what
I lived too long in the United States.
That's what initials are, an acronym.
Investor-state dispute resolution. Right. What that does, it sets up a parallel system of courts,
separate courts
outside national courts, whereby the provisions can be evaded or
there
executed.
are about 4,000 agreements already that have ISDS. Now,
have separate courts, yeah.
Have separate courts. It's more like a tribunal. So that if two governments are arguing, you go to a tribunal. Okay. Now they're done in secret, and the Commissioner has, and everybody has said this is not suitable in today's feeling of transparency. We need to set up a court that is transparent and independent
to adjudicate.
All right.
when there's. We need to move on, but just before we do. Yeah. Will this deal happen this year or early next year? Yes or no?
Probably next year, and I hope it does go ahead.
Okay.
Probably won't be
I would point out that EU-Canada was 5 years in negotiation.
I didn't ask you about
EU-Canada. This was just a resolution.
Do you think it will happen this year or next?
No.
All right. Both come back next year and we'll see if you're right.
Okay.
Well, I normally only get invited on your programme every 2 years, so this is a...
Well, I'm offering to up it a little bit.
Thank
but
you.
Not too much. Not if you speak in acronyms. It is an urgent, and I mean in terms of ours, need of liquidity for its banking system. Otherwise, the banks are going to go bust next week. Secondly, it needs some kind of debt relief that our guest has been talking about. Tens of billions we're talking about. And thirdly, it needs a new bailout fund of between 50 and 60, maybe 70 billion euros. That can't all be done by Sunday night.
Not by Sunday night, but if
so, what can be done?
Well, if they can agree on the heads of the different parts of the agreement, then at least people know that we've got a deal and that we can start moving forwards and start planning then for the longer term.
But even a heads of agreement could be difficult by Sunday night. These are huge because you're basically asking the North European and Spain and Portugal and Italy taxpayers to say, effectively, accept that for the foreseeable future you ain't going to get any money back. And by the way, could you give them another 50 to 60 billion?
Well, I think that the heads of agreement are fairly meaningless because, as our Greek guest has just said, the fact of the matter is that Greece cannot pay back its debts.
No, but that's
and as always happens, if you and the lenders have some responsibility in this, because if lenders lend money to somebody who can't pay the money back, what happens is that they're going to lose part or all of the debt, and so the lenders just aren't prepared to admit it. Now the reality is the reality is, which and all that's happening here is pretend and extend, to use the jargon phrase.
Sure.
And it means absolutely nothing.
intervene? Yes, let me hear again.
A year's time,
All right.
where we're going to be having the same discussion about Greece
I get that
as
point.
we are now.
We only have one Greek person here.
Yeah,
I'm
sorry.
really interested in what you have to say.
Can I say something on that? First of all, we have to make clear that this money were not going to the Greek state or the Greek people.
No.
This money were going to the banking system, and it is this banking system that has structural problems. Nevertheless, and this is where we have a big disagreement, is that we support the European project. We support the European project because we believe that with certain changes we can go back to a Europe
Why
which
are you
is
still-
democratic and which is for social justice and equality.
Why are you still so in favour of this when what it's done is made 60% of your young people unemployed?
And you are right, it's a terrible situation in Greece and we saw a humanitarian crisis. But
it is a
as I
humanitarian
said,
crisis, isn't
yes,
it?
It is. But I'll tell you what we believe. We believe that the problem is neoliberalism, is the politics that we have across the European
I know that's an
Union.
easy thing that trips off the tongue, but you're stuck with that. If you carry on, the Eurozone is that kind of project, and they're going to ram more austerity down your throat.
It wasn't supposed to be this type of project. That's what we are saying.
Let me
And I
ask
do
you-
believe that they
Sorry.
can be reformed.
Well, the European Union is a family of nations, and we are all
could have fooled
there.
me at times.
And well, no, well, like any family, we have our disagreements, but we want Greece to stay with us. UKIP just would like Greece to walk away, and that would be catastrophic.
Why? You should explain it.
Catastrophic
It's a
for the
catastrophe for the Greek people at the moment, and a continuing catastrophe.
Look, don't shout.
And
Shouting
where is
doesn't make it
European
right.
solidarity?
Shouting over
Where's the
something
European
doesn't make it
Hold
right.
on. I mean, the UNHCR has said yesterday the number of people fleeing just Syria alone, and most of the Syrians are not coming in off the coast of Libya, has passed 4 million. Turkey is hosting nearly 2 million of them. It's not a very rich country. It's the biggest refugee population problem for a single conflict in a generation, they say. What do we do?
Well, first of all, I make the point that UKIP is the only party that has actually got a credible policy on immigration. None of the other ones do. I'd make the second point that a large part of this, not all of it, but a large part of it is because of the creation of a failed state in Libya, which is a direct consequence of your party, Nick Clegg, and the Prime Minister's party.
But these are Syrians. Most Syrians are not coming in through Libya.
You deliberately mentioned, well, some do.
I talked about Syria.
No, I said a large part of it. I didn't say all of it. All of it.
Eritrea,
I would also say
many of the people coming through Libya are North Africans. They're not Syrians.
And if we look at the European rules. If we look at the European rules, with Catherine Bearder, the Liberal Democrats are so keen on, it is absolutely clear that under the Dublin Convention, I'm sorry to be jargonistic, but under the Dublin Convention, asylum seekers have to apply to asylum in the first country which they actually arrive at.
So let me get so Greece and Italy should take them all.
Take them all.
I'm saying those are actually what the rules are. Now, beyond that, if the British people and the British government decide that we want to take more, we can. But don't forget, this is a very overcrowded country, much more overcrowded than, for example,
overcrowded
Sweden.
than the million Somalians living in Kenya, which is
we're a much larger country than Kenya. We're a much larger country than Kenya.
Right.
And the fact now, as far as Denmark is
I have to end you there. We have too much time. No, we've run out of time on this.